Hi, I'd like to introduce myself to you. I'm Warwick Beadle, and I'm currently president of the Canadian Club of New Zealand. I live in Glendowie. I'm married to my wife Melanie, and we have one son, Samuel, and Samuel is 15. We have several animals in the house. We have two dogs, a Labradoodle named Poppy, a Labrador named Abby, who is a puppy that we just got up from Christchurch on the second day of level 3 when we were finally able to get crate on Air New Zealand. And we have a cat who is the boss of everything, and her name is Kira. I was asked how I found the club, and it's a bit of a long story. I used to work in the Auckland Savings Bank, and at one point in time was manager of the overseas department because we were an exchange control environment. And a young lad walked in by the name of Brian Mooney, and he wanted to send some money back to his parents in Ontario. And he and I became good friends. And after I returned to New Zealand from a very lengthy stint overseas, Brian convinced me to join the Canadian Club. I am originally from New Zealand and left in 1968 to do a 2-year OE around the world and come back. Arrived in Vancouver, always wanted to work for an airline, got hired by then Canadian Pacific Airlines, which became CP Air, which became Canadian Airlines, and 33 years later retired. I stayed an extra length of time in Canada after retiring from the airline, so I was away for approximately 40 years and came back when our son was 4.5 because we wanted to get him into the New Zealand school system. As you know, they start school here when everyone turns 5, whereas in Canada it's 6, so we thought we'd get a 1-year jump on the education system. So we returned when he was 4.5. During my time at Canadian, I was fortunate to travel the world and worked in a number of places. Started off in Vancouver and got transferred down to California. After about 6 years in California, after the last 2 years that I was in California, I became manager of the airport at Los Angeles for Canadian, and then got transferred to Whitehorse. So I'll never forget on my going away party at Los Angeles, a number of the airport managers for very large airlines came up to me and said to me, "What did you do wrong to get transferred up to Whitehorse?" So I had to explain to them that Whitehorse for Canadian was a very important base. We had 5 flights a day. It was started by Grant McConaughey, who was from the Yukon, and Whitehorse was a really good learning base for expansion later on into management. Did a stint back in New Zealand for 4 years as general manager for New Zealand, then got transferred to Toronto and spent 6 years or so in Toronto, and then back to Vancouver, where I worked on the Y2K project and also the startup of a low-cost airline for a Canadian. Strange question I was asked to answer, and that is if you caught me driving down the highway, what music would I be listening to? So I had to quickly go through my Spotify list and see what it is that is important. And I would be listening to a lot of Leonard Cohen, an awful lot of country and western. If my wife wasn't in the car, she hates country and western, so I'm not allowed to listen to that. ABBA, Bryan Adams, Castro, Celtic Thunder, Christy Moore, Eagles, and Ed Sheeran. So a good selection of music. And it's interesting, Samuel, the 15-year-old son, is interested in quite a few of those as well. So it's quite interesting that a young teenager can be interested in same music that his old fart, his dad, listens to. When I told Samuel last night what the last question was, and that's what keeps me busy at work, he said, "Well, you don't do anything, Dad." So anyway, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I retired. I haven't done any major work since I retired from Canadian Airlines. I did volunteer for the New Zealand Police for a number of years while we had volunteers at police stations, but of course that all changed after the Winds murders, and the police decided they couldn't have volunteers anymore at police stations. So that hasn't lasted. I do a lot of work for on the board for the college, and I was also on the board for at Samuel's Primary School, and stay at home dad work. I know Melanie says I don't do enough around the house, but I do the laundry and I do the dishes and I do the vacuuming and the dusting when it really, really needs to be done. But I try to let it blow away on its own. So it keeps me busy. I haven't played golf since I retired, which I would like to do, and I'd like to get back playing tennis and maybe some lawn bowls. So um, we're very pleased that you're with the Canadian Club. The fact that you're watching this video, or if you've got all the way through to the end. And we hope you enjoy your time at the club and look forward to a lot of activities as we come out of the COVID lockdown. To a lot of our activities will increase, and everybody will continue to have a great time at the club. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.